Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are you all today? So today is the 12th of July. We already passed the midway of the year, and this is already past. This is coming to the middle of the month already. So hope everybody is keeping well. Today we have a topic. It's called the Four Reliances. Yeah, the Four Reliances. So some of you may be familiar. In Buddhism, in order for a person so the Buddha talked about the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. Yeah. But how do we relate to the teachings? Yeah. How can we be sure of the teachings? So the Buddha said that in this world, so there are some things that you can depend on, some things that you shouldn't be depending on. So these four is actually quite commonly taught. Yeah, it pertains to the way we relate to the teacher, the teachings, the practice itself. The teachings mainly. So let's take a look, and then also perhaps we can see how that can perhaps be applied to our day-to-day as well in other aspects. So let's switch to the whiteboard. Okay, the Four Reliances. So this text itself is called the Si Yi. Let me adjust the size of the text. Si Yi. Four Reliances. So what are these four? Yeah. The first one, Yi Fa Bu Yi Ren. I'm going to write down the four in Chinese, then I'm going to explain. But before I do that, let me just check out the messages to see whether there's anything that whether the video is working. Okay. Looks good. Yi Fa Bu Yi Ren. Yi Yi 不依文，医疗义，不依不了义。And the last one, 医治，不依是。Okay, so these four, known as the Four Reliances, what are they? Let me just shift this a bit. Oops. Okay, so the first one, 依法不依人. So, first of all, the word 依, here I'm translating as to rely. So, the noun is reliance. To rely on. Is this how you spell rely? Rely on you. Yeah. So to depend on something, to rely on something. Yeah. So here it says rely on the teachings. Yeah. On the Dharma, not on the person. So this is I'm going to use the black color to write. So, oops, this is very thick. So rely on the Dharma, and not on the person. So this is very interesting because in especially for religion, many times in religion, the teacher or the leader of the group is very charismatic, and so it tends to be faith tend to be dependent on a person. Yeah, so we tend to develop faith on people, and so especially in the Buddha's time, and I believe even in today's society, people tend to hinge on people. Yeah. To be rational, then we say, well, not simply because of the person. Yeah. But what does it mean by rely on the Dharma, and not on the person? Because after all, the person, in this case, the teacher, is the one who expounds the Dharma, isn't it? Yeah. So the first statement, we usually learn it as depend on the teachings, not on the person, right? So the word Dharma here can refer to the Buddha Dharma, can refer to the teachings. So refer to the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. Yeah. So why here when it says rely on the Dharma and not on the person, on the surface it basically means it may seem like you cannot trust the person. Yeah. And on the other hand, since the Dharma is taught by the person, then if you don't trust the person, then how can you trust the Dharma? Yeah. Many times we don't necessarily ask the second question, but there's this issue here, right? Yeah. And if you think in that way, then so what should we do? If you cannot rely on a person, then but we rely on the Dharma, and if the Dharma is taught by the person, then how? What does it mean? So the first thing is, why is there such a teaching? There's such a teaching because of our natural tendency to just have faith and belief in a person, and then whatever the person say, then we assume that it must be correct. Yeah. This statement is opposed to so this statement itself is opposed to people-based people-based reliance, whereas the statement itself is principle-based. You recall in some other classes I refer to Dharma as a pattern, a principle. So the Buddha's teaching is very unique because in many cases, in many of his contemporary, the emphasis seems to be on a bit soft. Is it a bit soft? Can you all hear me? Okay, so I don't know. One of you, Sam was mentioning about that there's a change in topic. Is there a change in topic? Well, I was looking at the posting. Did we put a topic? Yeah, we didn't put any topic on. Was there a change? Sam? Lock John says locked before Shifu switch off the fan. Well, I don't know, sometimes psychological effect. Whether some of you, but anyway, if it works now, it works now. About the topic, well, we didn't manage to get any topic confirmed, so I chose this topic today. Yeah. We discussed a question on 12 dependent arising and Amitabha Pureland. Maybe Shifu had forgotten. Yeah, maybe you want to jog my memory. Was there a topic that I promised to cover? I mean, I'm okay if there's a topic that you all want me to cover, I can cover that. Yeah, but I've been asking people to write me topics that you want me to cover. So far, very few and far to come by, so I have to think of some topics to talk about. Let me search. I think Sam did write me Sam did send me some messages, but it's not, I can't remember whether it was here, but we can do it, we can always do it, but we don't have so much time for everything, you know. So I've already started on the Four Reliances. I'm gonna just finish that. and then if I have time, I will then complete I will also cover the other question that you posted. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, somehow. So anyway, let me just switch back to this. So 依法不依人. So the first one, that we should rely on the truth, the teaching of truth, and not on the person. Yeah. So meaning that, what's the implication? Implication is that the person may not always be teaching the truth. Yeah. And if, let's say, the person don't teach according to the Dharma, according to the truth, then you should reject the person, but not reject the Dharma. Yeah. So there must be some way to verify the Dharma. So whatever is taught, the principle that is being taught is what we should rely on. Yeah, that is our refuge. Yeah, not to take reliance or refuge in persons. Yeah, of course. Then there's a question of, okay, then how about the fact that the teacher actually teaches? Yeah, is the one who teaches us the Dharma. Yes, we do depend on the teacher for the Dharma. Yeah, but not as an end by itself. Meaning that if, for example, let's start off with worldly teachings. Okay, if let's say in school, your teacher is teaching you mathematics, so of course you should learn from your teacher. But if let's say your teacher gets some questions wrong, some explanations wrong, you shouldn't then blindly depend on that and say that because this person is a teacher and this person gave this explanation, then it must be correct. No. We say, if it doesn't make sense, then the person is wrong. Yeah. Yeah. So the fallback, the basis is always on the teachings itself, whether the teachings itself is correct or not. So whatever is taught then is expressed in words. Yeah. So the second one is 依义不依文. So this 依义不依文, wen is the text, yi is the meaning. So when we learn the teachings, that means here the second line means to understand the meaning and not get stuck with the phrasing, get stuck with the text itself, whether it's written or spoken. Yeah. So what is the intended meaning? What is it pointing to? Yeah. So this brings to mind the teaching on 子乐. So the Dharma itself, the words, sentences, it brings out a certain message. The message points towards the truth. Yeah. So the meaning is what is important, not the lettering and the So sometimes we say by the spirit of the text. So meaning that if you base it on the meaning and not simply on the letter, the way it's specifically written. So for example, when we think about the precepts, for example, so the precepts, let's say the teaching on right speech, or the precept on lying, So if you rely on the exact phrase itself, then the phrasing doesn't talk about, doesn't specifically talk about new media. It doesn't talk about internet. Yeah, but the essence here is any form of speech, of communication that is untruthful, that you intentionally say something that is false. Yeah, so then that is considered lying. So then if you follow the text, yeah, if you rely on the text itself, strictly just by the letter, then maybe I should also highlight that is the letter itself. That means the wording. Then you can get stuck, and as a result, the way we understand the teaching, the way we apply the teachings can be very constrained. Yeah, and perhaps sometimes we hear people say that the teaching is not applicable in today's life, in present day. So part of it may be because they are taking it a bit too literal, yeah, and they forget the spirit of the text. That means the intended meaning. Yeah. So, yes, Florence, you're right. Last week, someone asked about. I think somebody asked about the 愿消三障诸烦恼. Yeah. The one Sam Lim asked about is actually something that he asked separately in the private message. I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. So, so the first one rely not on the person but on what is taught. But what is taught has the expression of through words and in sentences, and then the intended meaning. So rely on the meaning, not on simply the phrasing, the lettering, the wording. And the third one is 依了义，不依不了义. So this is where there are in general we say what is 了义. So 了義 in the context of the teaching, it refers to that which can liberate. Yeah, that means that which liberates. Yeah, or that which can elucidate the truth. Versus that which does not. So there are teachings that that is a skillful means. So then there are those which is like really points to the truth. So the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, that is 了义. What would constitute 不了义? So if let's say certain teachings, I think let's say I don't know whether I should bring this up. I think I've heard before that the Master Yin Sun says that the 中观 is 了义, yeah, then 唯识 is 不了义. Yeah, so liberates, meaning that it points to the truth. Yeah, some would not agree. Yeah, my teacher don't agree with that. That 唯识 actually points to the truth also. I think sometimes, yeah, if you look at the teachings, the way I understand it would be there are the sections in the teachings that go directly touches onto the parts which is like, let's say, especially going into the ultimate reality, yeah, like the three universal characteristics and emptiness. Yeah, so these are very crucial. Then there are certain areas which, for example, in my opinion, certain parts, like it talk about how let's say that certain teachings were spoken at certain places, and so on and so forth. Some people get very stuck with such detail, yeah, and kind of misses the point of the teaching itself. And because the whole point of that sutta is the teaching, and not exactly whether it's so crucial to be at this place or that place. Because if you look at the Pali Canon itself, there are many suttas that is spoken almost identically in different places. Yeah. So one way to look at it is that the 不疗义 part would be details like where was it spoken. So important part is the content of the teaching. Content of the teaching. Then 依智不依事. Yeah, so this is to depend on wisdom and not on so this 事 literally means consciousness, but from what I know, this is actually the 妄事, the deluded consciousness. Deluded, sorry, what am I writing? Yeah, deluded consciousness. In other words, our deluded thinking, to rely on wisdom and not on deluded thinking. Yeah. So this is the Buddhist attitude towards learning, towards the truth. Yeah, I think one of the most unique in Buddhism is the first line, which is that we don't blindly have faith in people. Yeah, that we look at what is taught and then examine it as well. This is the nature of faith in Buddhism. It doesn't mean that we don't have faith in people, but we don't have blind faith in people. Likewise, it's not that we don't have faith in the text, yeah, in the lettering, the wordings, but we don't become constrained by them. Yeah, we look at what the teaching is meant to bring out. Yeah, and then the third one, there are various teachings that is being taught, but there are some which is in a way secondary, yeah, but the core, yeah, which is that which liberates, that points to the path, to the fruit, yeah, that is crucial. And the way we all this culminates is that we, whatever happens, we rely on our wisdom and not on our deluded thinking. So today's sharing is pretty straightforward. Yeah. Now, if you think about this, let me see. Make sure that. So if you think about today's sharing, right? This can be applied not just in terms of our learning of Dharma, yeah, but the way we relate to others as well. You can ask ourselves, as we relate to others, do we more often have faith in people or in principle? In today's society, we are more geared towards, at least Singapore, we are more geared towards having faith in the system. Yeah, system as in processes and structures. Processes and structures. Yeah, not any particular system in mind. Yeah, but in general, nowadays, we depend more on that. So take for example, in the past, in fact, if you are in a car and you have different individuals of different generations, you'll find that people of different generation use different approach to ask for directions. What I observe is older generation will depend on people. They will say, hey, let's ask the uncle over at this shop. Yeah, so we'll stop the car and then ask the uncle. We ask people for direction. Yeah, and whatever direction is given, we have confidence in it and we just follow it. Yeah. So then come the later generation. From asking people, they rely on the street directory. The street directory compared to the people is a shift. Yeah, it's a shift from people to a structure. Yeah, granted, again, the structure in this case, like the street directory, is actually built up by people also. Yeah, so but it's slowly moving away from people. Then come my generation. My generation is more the street directory actually. I grew up with street directories, telephone books and stuff. I think my parents' generation, they are more the people based. Like I find myself, if I were to call up a certain organization, I prefer to have the answering system. Yeah, for English, press 1. And then for this option, press 2. Yeah, if I can, give me a website. I'll just talk to the computer. Yeah, in part because of our experiences. Yeah, sometimes I call up certain organizations and they ask for the address, and you read to them the address and they just keep getting it wrong. Yeah, or the telephone number, you read to them and then they repeat, and then you get to go back and forth several times. Yeah, so depending on the person's experience and the background, then we may lean more towards the people or towards the principle. In the case of the Buddha's advice is we should always fall back to the principle itself. Newer generations then have a further change in the medium. Yeah, so not street directory, but GPS. Then after GPS, then we have Google Maps, we have the Apple Map. Yeah, then we have Waze and so on and so forth. Yeah, some of these are shift in the the medium, but in a way, then it's shifting from reliance on one source of information to another source of information. Because if you think about it, we use Google because we trust that Google give us the right one. But over time, we also learn that Google Map may not always be, not just Google Map, but all the maps may not always be updated. Yeah, because roads don't usually change, but they do change. And if the rate of change of reality, yeah, the road outside is synonymous to the reality we talk about in Buddhism. Yeah, like the road to enlightenment. Yeah. So if there's any shift in the roads in the physical world, is it then reflected in the GPS? Is it reflected in the street directory? Street directory is updated the least. Yeah. How about human? Human then depend on the person's wealth of knowledge and experience. It also depends on how much the person can remember. Yeah. Also depends on the person's mood. Yeah. So human beings have some issues in this department. Yeah, because we tend to have mood. Yeah. If you ask the uncle had lunch, in good mood, and the uncle maybe even drive you there. Yeah. show you the way, drive you there, give you 2 bottles of drinks. Uncle in a bad mood, or maybe when you ask, then you ask in a certain manner that, you know, ruffle up the uncle in the wrong way, then maybe the uncle maybe even lead you on the wild chase. Yeah. I'm not saying all uncle like that, but I'm saying there's the potential for that. Whereas when you use the street directory is dead. Yeah. So because it's dead, then it's up to you to be able to read it. But as long as you are able to read it, it will always give you the same information. So it's reliable in a sense compared to human. Similarly, when you learn Dharma, it depends on the person being able to teach you, depends on the ability of the person to remember the teachings and so on. And also on the person's mood, yeah, to be very honest. But that's where good teachers stand out. Good teachers are able to teach regardless of their mood. Yeah. Of course, if they are enlightened, then no mood issue. Yeah. But if they are not enlightened, then are they able to overcome their own mood swing? Yeah. Maybe something really bad happened. Are they still able to teach? Yeah. Maybe, or maybe there's some, karmic. Past karmic link that is not so good. Are they able to overcome that and teach? Yeah. So then if you move all the way to let's say apps, most apps treat users fairly equally. Yeah. Of course, as I'm saying this, I also realize that apps may give curated information. Yeah, so that's a form of bias, and depending on the algorithm, it may also tweak what is being presented. So best way is to know the terrain, but that may not always be possible. And if you look at the second layer, 意义不一文. So what is the intended meaning? Yeah, if you follow the instruction to the letter, sometimes it may not always be correct. Yeah. So 意义不一文. Yeah. If let's say what happened to the text? I think sometimes there's the screensaver, and then it shuts off. Yeah. So I think if you go through the text, you can actually apply it in our day-to-day life. The second one, 意义不一文, the intended meaning. I think oftentimes people get stuck with descriptions. Yeah, the very letter and the words, whether in terms of the Dharma, the teachings, or again the GPS thing, right? And linked to the third one, 一了义不一不了义. In a way, it's like if the GPS give you a direction that in this case is wrong, yeah, doesn't point you to the correct destination, or bring you to a loop, then you shouldn't depend on that. Yeah, it should depend on the one that is correct. There are all those horror stories about the GPS saying turn left, and then they turn left into a wall. The GPS says go straight for 300 meters, and then drive into a lake. Yeah. So this is taking the instructions too literally, without looking at the intended meaning. Yeah. Intended meaning is for you to get to your destination, but if it doesn't apply, you have to reassess, and corroborate with reality. And of course, ultimately, 意志不一事. Yeah, use your own intelligence, your own wisdom. Yeah. If we follow anything too blindly, yeah, without using our own wisdom, even GPS can drive us to the lake. It's 3 o'clock now. Let me see. what I can remember is there was the question of the 愿消三障诸烦恼. Yeah, I'm going to very briefly explain this. So this is the opening phrase of the of the dedication. 愿消三障诸烦恼. So first of all, the practice of doing dedication is that when we do something wholesome, such as learning the Dharma, doing some practices, helping others, and so on and so forth, there's something wholesome, yeah, that we call karma. So there's karma involved. So karma is action, and action can produce results. Yeah, it can have fruits / results. So fruits would be phala, and results would be vipaka. So from action to fruits, then the Buddha used the simile of seeds, and then plus conditions, and it ripens as fruits and results. Yeah. So in the case of practices, our cultivation, then we say that the seeds are wholesome. The seeds are wholesome. Yeah. And we can say that they are positive, and so in general we can call this merits. Yeah. That is meritorious. So here, whenever we do dedication, it's basically saying, look, we have done something good. What do we want to do with these wholesome, meritorious seeds? Yeah, as far as the fruits and the results is concerned, what do we want to do with it? So in the first verse, 愿消三障诸烦恼. We are saying we want to eradicate all the defilements, yeah, to eradicate all the defilements comprising the three obstacles. And what are these three obstacles? The three obstacles are none other than 烦恼, 业, then 果报, also known as 艺术. So the first one is just simply defilements, and the second is karmic, and the third is how should I put it, rebirth. So these three are known as the overall classification of obstacles. Yeah, the three categories of obstacles. So why are they considered obstacles? In the Water Repentance Puja, it talk about how the various kinds of sufferings that we go through. So we have a lot of, go through samsara suffering. So all this can be distilled down into these three categories. And these three categories can obstruct. They are known as obstacles because they serve as obstacles to those who want to practice wholesome deeds. For those who want to aspire towards human heavenly rebirth up to enlightenment. Those who want to cultivate good, wholesomeness, want to practice and strive towards enlightenment, when they are obstructed by either the defilements arising or karmic actions, so karma that is done in the past, and when they do certain actions, it obstructs them. And lastly, the rebirth that can be detrimental to their practices. The first one is pretty straightforward. Basically, whatever defilements that arise, if you connect, key thing, defilements, being unenlightened, we have defilements, but there's a degree of whether it's strong defilements or weak defilements. And then it's a question of whether you succumb to the defilements, you connect with the defilements. That means you agree with it. You act according to the defilements. You allow yourself to go along with the defilements. So let's say you want to learn Buddha Dharma, but you have strong attachments. You have attachments to this, attachments to that. You have a lot of craving, a lot of desire. So maybe your fellow students don't go along with you. That means you want certain things, your fellow students don't go along with you. So don't allow you to have certain things. Then you say, in that case I don't learn Dharma, I'm not happy. Or maybe you expect your teacher to do certain things. The teacher don't do. Doesn't mean that the teacher is wrong. It's just that you want the teacher, you expect certain things from a teacher, but the teachers don't fulfill that. Then you're not happy. So it can be because of various things. Then, as a result, I don't want to learn anymore. I feel so sad. Then it becomes an obstacle. But the favorite in Chinese Buddhism is this Ye Zhang. But actually there's a misinterpretation. So many times when we say Ye Zhang, strictly speaking, it's talking about actions that we have taken that in this life directly impede you. So most prominently, the 5 heinous deeds. So if you commit any of the 5, 杀父杀母杀罗汉出佛身血破和而生. So killing of one's father, mother, killing of an arahant, harming of the Buddha, and lastly breaking up of a community that is in harmony. So the first 3 is pretty straightforward. If you kill your parents, if you kill an arahant, that means an enlightened being, these are very heavy negative karma. So as a result, in this life, even if you want to learn Dharma, you can still learn, but you cannot progress. Because that heavy karma blocks your mind. Your mind cannot have that awakening. There are consequences to our actions. And this is a very direct one. The 5th one, the 4th one is harming of a Buddha. So there's a Buddha, and then you try to harm the Buddha. Buddhas cannot be killed technically by individuals, because a Buddha, by the time you reach Buddhahood, the last rebirth is so purified, it doesn't have any causal seed for it to experience murder. So at most in the Buddha's time was a small piece of stone what do you call it, cutting the Buddha's toe. Yeah, so that itself is very heavy also. Yeah, so and the reason being that you have intent to create harm towards the speaker of truth. Yeah, why do you want to do that? Again, due to defilements, but the intent is to then stop such teachings. So that itself very heavy. The last one, community that is following the teachings, then you go and teach alternative teachings and cause them to split up. Yeah. So here, when they say in harmony, is that they are in harmony learning the true Dharma. If they are in harmony learning the wrong Dharma, then you teach the correct Dharma. In a way, you are splitting them up. But that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. So it's more specifically that the community is learning the true Dharma. That means practicing, learning the truth, and then you go and teach alternative, which is not the truth. And then they go and follow you. Then you are in trouble, right? Because you are leading them away from the truth. So because of these 5, in this present life, your attempts to learn Dharma and practice, you should still do that if you happen to fall into this category. But you must know that the heavy karma blocks you. You cannot progress, not in this life. Yeah. So whatever you do, avoid these 5. Because after this life, according to the teaching, then we have the rebirth problem. Rebirth in the abhijihao. So rebirth in the lower realms is not conducive for learning Dharma, for practicing. In general, we can always say that, oh, the Buddha as a Bodhisattva took rebirth as animal and he was practicing also. Yes, that's true. Yeah, but as a general rule, for most people who is just beginning, not conducive. Yeah, too much suffering. The Buddha at that stage is already at a rather high level Bodhisattva stage. So rebirth in the heavenly realms is also not conducive because too pleasant. So hard to kindle the thoughts of practice, of renunciation. Difficult. How about human realm? Human realm in general is much more conducive. There's a bit of everything. So when we hear about the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, about truth of suffering, truth of the cause of suffering, truth of the way leading to the truth of the end of suffering, truth of the way leading to the end of suffering, easier for us to appreciate it, and so easier for us to have that renunciation, to have that revulsion towards this world, and move towards out of samsara towards nirvana. So human rebirth, by and large, better, but certain human rebirth, if you are reborn as a human, but born with defects in the senses, depending on how severe, then it may impede your learning. If you are reborn as a human, but your rebirth as a human is too good, also not good. Or you are reborn in a place where there's a lot of war, a lot of chaos, hard to learn also. You may have a lot of revulsion, but no opportunity for you to train your mind. Lower realms have a lot of suffering, so they know suffering, but they don't have faith in, they don't have the opportunities to cultivate and train their mind. So every time when people say 业障, actually the idea is that it's from the past life. But if it's past life action, then you experience now it should be 果报障. But then if we look at what people are referring to when they say 业障, many times it's not 业障, many times it's 烦恼障. That means you succumb to unwholesome thoughts. you succumb to your emotions. Yeah, because of your emotions, then you don't want to learn, you don't want to practice. This is purely defilements. Yeah, 烦恼障. But knowing is one thing, doing is another thing. Because when we are under the influence of defilements, it's like driving under influence of intoxication. Yeah, intoxicants. Hard to make the right judgment call. Yeah. So we make this very pure, wholesome intent that when we do something wholesome, when we do some practices, then we want to do something with this merit. Not to just have a better life. Not to, so you see, if you just keep on wishing for a better life, when your life, in future, your life becomes so good, you don't want to practice, then becomes obstacle. Yeah, so it becomes ironic, you know. You manage to do some wholesome deeds, then you go and dedicate towards something that obstruct you in future. So here, 愿消三障诸烦恼, that with these merits, you don't want to use it to enjoy yourself. Yeah, but you want to direct it towards a certain purpose. What purpose? To use it to eradicate these three obstacles. Yeah, comprising all defilements. Why call all defilements? Because these are all defilements at different stages. Yeah, the first one is when it's active. Second one is when it has manifest into action. Yeah, that means it's, then the third one is the subsequent results. You want to use your merits in this way. Yeah, why? Because if you can use it in this way, then in future life, or in future, not just, Buddhism is not just about future life, this life, starting from this life onward, this moment onwards, yeah, that you want to direct it to changing yourself. Yeah, changing yourself. So instead of just following how you feel, doesn't mean that we don't feel. I mean, we can say I don't want to feel, but if we feel, we feel, you know. But to have that clarity of mind, yeah, and always keep in mind, what do you want to achieve at the end of the day? Yeah, of course, if what you want to achieve at the end of the day is just to do, you know, to get at people, then that's your choice. But if your intent is to be kind, your intent is to be of service to others, to care for your friends and family. A lot of us want to care for our friends and family, but we don't talk about cultivation for enlightenment. Many times we want to care for our friends and family, but we even fail in that. Why? Because we never keep our defilements in check. Yeah, we fail to do that. We end up following our defilements, following our greed, hatred, delusion, our frustration. Yeah, greed, hatred, delusion, very big terms. Yeah, our daily frustration, big take, you know, big take. Yeah, so if we follow our big take, our frustration, not to mention cultivation, we cannot even care for people around us. Our children need a bit of our time, yeah, but we are under stress. Yeah, we allow our stress to overcome us, then we become frustrated, then our children come to us, maybe our attitude is different, our response is different. So this is just the opening verse. Maybe next week I can cover the rest. I feel obliged. I feel obliged to at least touch a bit on what Sam asked. Yeah. To be fair, Sam did ask me, and as I read through the past messages, he texted me privately, and then I even asked him for a topic. So yeah, I truly forgot. Yeah, I truly forgot about it. Forgot it as in like, forgot as in forget. Yeah, no second way around it. Yeah. So the topic was, where is Amitabha Pure Land? Yeah. And then he suggested a few. Where is Amitabha Pure Land? will suffering end in Pure Land? Is Pure Land between samsara and nirvana? Yeah. So these questions pop up now and then in his head when he read the Amitabha Jing every day. Yeah, has been popping up. So let me just touch on it briefly. Then maybe next week I can touch on it and then complete the rest of the dedication explanation. Yeah, my apologies. I truly forgot about it. so earlier today, so like these few days I was still thinking, hot topic. Yeah, and then I thought about this because my teacher highlighted the Four Reliances quite a bit. Yeah, so in brief, I can maybe answer some of the questions. So where is Amitabha Pure Land? According to the Amitabha Sutra, it is in the western direction. It's in the western direction. Ingwi, don't mention. I'm glad that the explanation is helpful. So it's in the general western direction. So if you're like me, then I have to ask a question: how do we interpret the West? Yeah. So if you consider, let's say like where we are in Singapore, then the West would point towards Java, Sumatra, because then the north would be Malaysia, the south would be Jakarta, and then the east would be towards Sarawak, then other countries towards our east. And if you go further, then it goes around the globe because we're near to the equator. But you notice that if you go along what our conventional idea of West is, it actually goes in a circle, depending on how far away from the equator you are. If you're right at the geographical poles, then north, south, east, west doesn't mean anything anymore, because north can mean any direction going up. If you're at the south pole, north is all direction. If you're at the exact physical north, south. If you're at the exact physical north, then south is all direction. There's no east and west. Think about it, a spear, right? Like, don't ask me why I have a tennis ball here. So if north is here, south is here, and if you're at the north, then south, where is the southern direction? All direction is south, right? All directions is south. So physically, if you're standing here, this is south, that is south, all directions are south. If you're in the south pole, then all directions is north. And if you're at the equator, like where we are, going upwards, when we say upwards, it's actually physically we are looking towards the north. So, but it's not a tangential north, it's actually curving towards the north, right? So this is conventional directions. But if we use conventional directions to understand the sutra, then it doesn't make sense. Well, where is that west, right? Because the sutra alludes to how it is like don't know how many billions of like world systems away. World systems are not kilometers. Like how many world systems away there is this world system called the 极乐世界. It's a world system, not one planet. It's a world system. So so that's the first problem with how to interpret the West. And then if we say, okay, how about with respect to the sun and the earth, and so then how do you know which is the north? So to me, I honestly don't have a way to indicate that, because I subscribe to I don't know how to determine what the galactic north is. Yeah. Is it with respect? What is it with respect to? You know, directions is all relative. Yeah, directions are relative. So where is Amitabha Pureland? If you want to physically find it, then we have a hard time to pinpoint. Is it in the direction of the Andromeda galaxy or Cassiopeia galaxy, or is it towards, you know, according to science, there's the whole universe, and we're in one of the cluster, galaxy cluster. Are we is Western Pureland towards the other side? You know, if you take that as a center and with reference to the usual picture, then we are in the eastern side. Yeah, is that the case? I don't know. Yeah. So another way to understand it is that. So there's two other things. One is, in the various teaching, it says that if you are able to purify your mind and attain to jhana, evoke the right vow, then you are able to witness it directly. Yeah. So then you can find out. Okay. Yeah. Then yet another way is to not specifically Western Pureland, Amitabha Pureland, but to experience Pureland. That one is easier, comparatively, okay, but not easy also. Easier in the sense, if your mind connects with the Dharma. Yeah. So I want you all to look at your surrounding, okay? Look at all the things around you, and I want you all to find something that doesn't conform with what the Buddha has taught. In a sense that, like the phone or the computer that you are looking at, is it impermanent? Yeah, is it impermanent? Is it subject to change? And this impermanence and subject to change, subject to conditions, and not according to your whims and fancy, does it incline towards certainty, assurance, or less certainty, less assurance? More control or less control? If it's more uncertainty, if it's less control, then it inclines towards less assurance. Then it inclines towards more suffering. Yeah, it tends towards suffering. The lack of control is suffering. Yeah, and that, if you want you all to look around the things around you, does it not exhibit all these qualities? Yeah, and lastly, or maybe not lastly, but the last two, is it not is it worthy to be considered as self? In other words, is there any inherentness in it? Yeah. If your answer is that it's impermanent, subject to change, subject to suffering, is empty in nature, is empty of self, then everything you see is Dhamma, isn't it? Including the good events in your life, including the bad events in your life. All these are bringing up Dhamma. All these are manifestations of Dhamma, including when people praise you, including when people say hurtful things, including when people are reasonable, including when people are unreasonable. Everything. In which case, then, as the teaching goes, 心净国土净. Then you are already in Pure Land. Don't have to look for the outside Pure Land. The trouble, then we may say, oh, then in that case I don't have to attend Dhamma talk. Yes, in fact, if you are able to do this consistently,
then in a short time I think you'll be enlightened. You don't have to attend Dharma talks. You don't have to, but you will find that you delight in attending Dharma talk, yeah, because it's a teaching of truth, yeah, and you resonate with the truth directly. It's no longer hearing what people say, yeah, but so you don't have to. If you can do it consistently and resonate and connect in that way, no more Dharma talks for you, or no more need for Dharma talk for you. But you will find that you attend Dharma talks even more vigorously, yeah. And you will want to do that because you want to support the teaching of Dharma, yeah. Then no question of Pure Land. No. Now as to the other question, is Pure Land between samsara and nirvana? That will be for next week. Okay. 合掌回向，愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。起立。